At the moment, we have a successful test suite, like you can see. So we run all of our tests and all of them are successful with successful assertions. Now this is the greatest advantage of having tests in your application. For example, you can use your tests to make sure that everything is still going fine in your application at any point. Now we want to do a little refactor, and think of refactoring as making our code better, writing better code, making things look better, using the best methods and stuff like that. Okay, so now that everything is successful, at the end of our refactor, everything should still be successful. We didn't break anything, we didn't write any new tests, but everything is still successful. Okay, so I'll head over to my user.php and I'm going to show you something that Laravel does a lot. This use traits right here. So what Laravel does is, if it discovers that a lot of functionality can be hidden behind a trait, it's going to use the trait, and it uses a concept of single trait responsibilities. For example, right here we discovered that the notifiable trait, its responsibility is to contain methods that deal with notifications for users. Therefore, even though traits can be used by multiple entities or multiple classes, most of the time you're gonna see that Laravel uses traits only in one class, and it's a very clean way of encompassing your methods behind classes. So what we're gonna be doing is we'll remove out all the functionality that has to do with completing lessons, getting lesson percentages and all of that stuff, and would hide it behind a trait. And I'm gonna call this trait a learning trait. Okay, so in my app directory, I'm gonna create an entities directory and I'm gonna save that trait in there. So I'm gonna say learning.php. Okay, so this is gonna be a PHP file. We'll state the namespace, which is podcast entities, and this is gonna be a trait called learning. Okay, so now that we have this trait, I'll head over to my user.php and I would use this trait. So use learning, and we need to import this trait at the top. So use podcast entities and we'll get learning.php. Great, but how does this help us? All of these methods that have to do with completing lessons, we're gonna cut them out. So from here, mark a lesson as completed for a user, and right down to the bottom, we'll cut them out, which will make our user class look very clean. And then in our learning trait, we'll just paste them in right there. Okay, so this now is obviously going to refer to the class or the instance that is using this trait. And for us to avoid having any errors, we have to use the Redis facade so that this trait is going to have access to it. Okay, now that we've removed all the functionality from our user class and we've hidden it behind a trait, our user class is clean. We need to run our test to make sure that we didn't break anything. And great, that's it. We successfully created a trait, put that functionality in it, and our test suite is still passing. So this is a really great advantage of having tests. You could change something in your application and check that everything still works as expected using your tests.